Good morning. Welcome to the Projects and Services Committee meeting of the 2nd of April 2026. I'm going to call upon Councillor Rimmick, if you'd open with the karakia, please, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Karakia timatanga. Whakatakatahau ki te uru, whakatakatahau ki te tonga, kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai. E hiki ane te atukura, he teo, he hoka, he hauhu, tia Māori ora.
Councillor. Okay, just look, welcome to our Mayor, our fellow councillors, to the Chief Executive, members of staff, public both in chambers and online, and a welcome also to Councillor Dennis, who is online. And I believe also Councillor O'Brien is... He's not online at the moment? Okay, but he is intended to be at the meeting. Okay. By remaining, item 2.1, the live streaming. Councillors, I've welcomed you. Council and Standing Committee meetings are live streamed on the Council's website and YouTube channel. Welcome to members of the public who have joined online and to those within the public gallery. By remaining in the public gallery, it is understood your consent has been given if your presence is inadvertently broadcast. Please be aware the microphones in total room are sensitive to noise, so please remain quiet throughout the meeting unless asked to speak. Item 2.2, the health and safety. In case of an emergency, follow the building wardens to the nearest exit. The meeting point is across the road at Peace Park, directly behind me. Bathroom facilities are located opposite the Chambers foyer entrance. Item 2.3, the agenda release. Members are advised that the agenda was republished with the inclusion of a report inadvertently omitted in the original release. The agenda was redistributed on all platforms to enable the members and public availability to that report. It is unfortunate and regrettable that any annotations added to the first released agenda are no longer available. Okay. Item 2, apologies. We have no apologies. Moving on then to acknowledgements and tributes. Do any councillors have any acknowledgements or tributes they wish to share? Councillor Boynton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just an acknowledgement that today is the 110-year anniversary of the raid on Maunga Pohatu by the Crown on the settlement of Ruakinana, the Prophet's settlement. So just to acknowledge this day and also to the work that the Council has done with Ngā Toina o Iharaira, Ngā Toina o Ngā Tamariki o Iharaira, which was the group who went through with the pardon in 2019 and that are currently going through to apply for a royal prerogative of mercy to have his record extinguished, the convictions, because obviously there was no grounds for him to be convicted. But I just want to acknowledge the event that occurred 110 years ago in Aotearoa and all of those who are descendants and connected to him. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any further acknowledgements or tributes? There being not so, let's move on then to conflicts of interest. Item 4, any conflicts of interest to be declared? Okay, nothing there. Public participation, item 5, no public participation today. Move then to item 6, the confirmation of the minutes, that the minutes of the Projects and Services meeting held on the 19th of February 2026 be confirmed as a true and correct record. Somebody like to move that these records be true? Deputy Mayor Jukes, seconded Councillor James. All those in favour, please say aye. Against a point? You can take a question. I'll take a question.
I just had a
On
question.
correctness.
Or correctness. I suppose it's just really a question on clarification. We had a multitude of recommendations and notes, so they weren't necessarily recommendations, but they were asking us to note. And so I just wanted to clarify, with each of those notes, it's got resolved and carried. So I wanted to confirm, are we saying that those things we took as notes were resolutions to the content of those notes?
The recommendations were from 1 through to 11 from my memory.
Yes.
And yes, we did. We accepted them as recommendations, but with the word note having been used.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, because we had asked at the time of the meeting whether or not that meant we were committing to the content of that, rather than just noting it sort of like it's on the side there. So I just wanted to be clear, because when we look at the minutes, it has resolved and carried. Yes, I just wanted to be fine, make sure.
Do you want to clarify?
Yeah, tēnā koutou. This is simply noting, was the resolution that you approved was to, I guess, put into effect that you had been made aware of the considerations that went into the other decisions that were made within the report. So it was just to recognise that there were many factors involved in making a decision in terms of interdependencies between the information with the content, such as, risk to property, risk to life, the financial aspects, etc., feasibility. So it was just to make sure that, I guess, to confirm that the committee had the awareness of all the requirements of that decision.
Okay. Just supplementary. Does that mean that we can set that information aside just as that we've acknowledged it, so we haven't committed?
All you have done is note it.
Thank you.
Councillor Rowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everybody. I thank you very much, Councillor Pointing, for bringing it up, because when I was reading through it, I was surprised at the lengthiness of the resolutions. We've already received the reports which had all the risks in it, so I wasn't quite sure why they're all being restated individually. But happy to accept what you're saying, Alex. I guess we just didn't want to be committed to something that was in a note further down the line, and it comes back that we'd already agreed to it when it was really an awareness of it. Thank you.
Okay, so with that clarification, I put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against and carried. Thank you. Also, just to welcome Councillor O'Brien, who is online, along with Councillor Dennis. All right, moving on now to the first of our reports, Report 7.1, the Matata Wastewater Project Update for April 2026. And I'd like to ask Nicholas and Janelle, is she coming to the table, or are we going to have Jess come forward? Okay, just Nicholas for this report. Okay, Nicholas, welcome. Anything you'd like to add to the report, or do we take it as read?
Just like to, and thank you, kia ora koutou. Just want to note that in 4.1, the final bullet is actually an error. Apologies for that. The correct date that the recommended project components for consent development were endorsed by the co-design group were 2nd of March, not 2nd of April. It's obviously today. So just to correct the record.
Okay. Anything further?
Yeah, I mean, if I could just to note, I mean, overall where we are, and you may recall that, from the September committee meeting where the preferred option was endorsed, which was for the Tahi Hill farm for the wastewater treatment plant location and irrigation within the site itself. Just to note that we are working on a draft master plan for the site as to how the farm would, how the irrigation would be would use the entirety of the site, and the different staging going from that stage 1 of 400 homes, which would supply current Matata plus a bit of growth, and then ultimately up to 700 homes. So we're looking at the staging within that and the type of irrigation system that we would use as well.
Cool. Okay. That's it.
That's it.
Thank you. All right, councillors, any questions of clarification? Councillor Whittaker.
Thank you. Nicholas, I see in the report you talk about the way you're going to discharge the liquid waste on the farm, at Tahi Farm.
Yeah.
How you're going to discharge
The treated
liquid
wastewater.
waste. And I was just wondering, you talk about taking out the nitrogen and the phosphorus,
Yes.
but if you're going to use it to grow whatever you're going to grow, whether it's grass or lucerne, why would you take out the nitrogen and the phosphorus?
That's a good question, thank you. It's really, if you think about it in agricultural terms, if you're applying too much fertiliser, the risk is that it actually
Yeah,
breaks
I
out
understand that.
into so it's really around making sure that application rates of nitrogen and phosphorus aren't too high, so that they would break through into groundwater and into receiving waters and cause eutrophication problems. So there was some taken out in the treatment process, and the remainder would be taken up through the grass that would grow and the soil and through the topsoil as well. There's a bit of denitrification that occurs. So it's really about making sure not too much is applied that it would cause any problems in the wider catchment.
Just a subsequent question on that. Where's the nearest sort of water source that it might percolate into?
So there's a couple of tributaries of the Tarawera. There's one that comes down from Manawahe, Awakaponga stream, which is on the northwestern boundary of the site, so on the immediate boundary. There's a stream there, and also on the northeastern boundary of the site, there's a drain that flows into another tributary, which ultimately ends up, I think, in the same stream, but downstream.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Hamill.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Welcome, everybody. And I appreciated the site visit that we had to Tahi Hill Farm. That was really helpful just to visualise what the proposal looks like. I just had a question around storage and what capacity we have. We did touch on it in our site visit, but what are the options when we have in winter, when we have very wet seasons or periods of heavy rain? How much storage capacity has the site got?
Yeah. So with a land treatment system, we can't apply it every day of the year necessarily. We can apply it most of the time, but when we get really heavy rainfall, and like in winter, it would be okay if it's not really heavy rain. We are looking at doing additional drainage on the farm itself, and that's to reduce the groundwater table and help with the land treatment process. But when we have a really big storm and there's ponding all over the farm, we obviously can't discharge until that recedes. So we would be looking at somewhere in the order, I think it's about 8,000 cubic metres. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's in the order of that. It would be, essentially, we're looking at a storage lagoon, and this is of treated wastewater, so it's not an oxidation pond by any means. It's a very different type of thing. That would be. I don't have the dimensions in front of me, Councillor Hamill, but it's in the order. It will take up about 4,000 square metres from memory, but I think it's about 8,000. But I can come back to you next time and with those numbers.
Thank you. Just assurance that when we have these seasons, heavy rain episodes, that we've got capacity.
Yes, yeah, and it will be modelled on a certain number of days of storage. That's how we would develop it, and that is part of that master plan that we are developing. Yeah.
Councillor James.
Yeah, just slightly related to Councillor Whitaker's question. Do we know the depths of any aquifers under that farm, or?
Yeah, we do. So we've put about 8 monitoring bores on the site, and some of them are shallower and some of them are deeper. Some of them are only, about 5 metres deep, some of them more like 15. And those are monitoring the groundwater level. And we know that at times it can get sort of within a metre or so of the surface. So that's the shallow groundwater. I mean, it's, it does go up and down throughout the seasons. So the additional drainage we're looking at putting in is to lower that. The technical term is the vadose zone, right? It's the distance from the top of the ground to the groundwater table. So we're looking at increasing that, and the reason is because through that zone you can get further denitrification. Once it hits the groundwater itself, it doesn't so much. So we're trying to reduce the nutrients, any residual nutrients in the treated wastewater, so that by the time they reach the groundwater table, they're not going to be at a concentration that's going to cause any issues.
Yeah, that's the groundwater, but what about the aquifers below it? Like, is there anything,
So as part of the
nothing deeper than 200 metres?
as a part of the consent process, we are looking at what water bores there are around the site, around the area, how deep they are, and we are doing a public health risk assessment to confirm the disinfection that we would have, the strength of disinfection, and how much reduction in pathogens we'd need to achieve to make sure that there's no risk to any groundwater takes around the farm. Yeah, but we're looking at UV disinfection, but you can have different sort of strengths of UV, so.
Okay, any further Councillor Boynton?
Thank you. Kia ora, kōrua. Thank you for your mahi. I just had a question because the farm itself is identified on the hazardous activities and industries list as part of the hail map, and that's under being a verified hail site. Relating to persistent pesticide bulk storage, including sports, turfs, markets, gardens, orchards. I just wanted to get more clarity over whether or not that impacts the use of the land.
The short answer is no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
As part of the development of the site, we need to make sure that there's no risk of contamination causing an issue to the environment or the people. And part of that also includes, there is an existing dairy shed effluent pond on the site, right, which is where the sludge and stuff is coming out. So in all the development of the site, we need to make sure that we are addressing those matters carefully.
Yes.
But those are details that we are working through.
Thank you. I was just wanting to clarity because I noticed that there are a lot of sites that are on the hail map, but
Yes.
mainly if they are a farm, they would hold a lot of pesticides for the work that they do for agriculture. Is that right?
Yeah,
Technical perspective, such as would wastewater to land be feasible, and also what are like our flooding risks to the assets that we currently have. So we are continuing to do the technical work that is possible while we get these groups established, and Taneatua is in a similar position. Yeah. So that's my update, and I'm happy to receive any questions.
Thank you, Jess. Okay, councillors, any questions of clarification? Oh, okay. I thought you were going to get Councillor Rimmick.
I think it's just a basic one. So it's regional council that approve our consents.
Yes,
And
For for any discharges or water takes, it is Regional Council who processes those consents.
And you said that there were some conditions, but they are easy fixes, or it's just changing of parameters or numbers or something?
What I mean by conditions is when you receive a resource consent, you have conditions of that consent. So, for example, for a water take, it will say you have a maximum volume that you're allowed to take. So conditions are just a result of receiving a consent.
All right, thank you.
Okay, councillors, Councillor Hamill.
Thank you, Jess. I just had a question on the drinking water for Whakatane Ohopi. How long can we persist with the current drinking water take from Whakatane with salinity issues? Is that something that we're addressing in a separate work program?
Yeah, so there's a wider piece of work going on around the water strategy. At this stage, because of the consent timeframes, we must have something lodged by the 1st of July. There's a wider strategic conversation strategy that needs to happen there. So the approach that we're taking is to reconsent. So we've got a solid supply for Whakatane in the interim while that strategy is being developed.
I guess what Jess is saying, we are looking at other options for Whakatane Ohopi water supply. So, yeah, at this point in time, it's just a matter of getting all our ducks in a row for the consenting process. Okay, are there any further questions or clarification? If not, I'll put the Oh, sorry, 2. Welcome from afar. Your question, please.
Yeah, just a question for you, Jess. Where's on page 24, where's the Otumahi scheme? What's that come under?
Did you hear that question, Jess? Page 24.
Kia ora, Councillor O'Brien. So the Otumahi scheme has an existing consent. I think that was granted in 2015. So that's not one of the consents as part of the program simply because it's not expiring.
All right, thank you.
Okay, on that note, I'm going to put the recommendation that the Projects and Services Committee receive the Three Waters Consent Replacement Program report. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Amick. Seconder, Deputy Mayor Dukes. Any debate? There being no debate, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against and carried. Thank you, Jess. Thanks, Nick. Okay, let's move on then to item 7.3, which was the item that was omitted from the original agenda. I trust all councillors have had a chance to read and update their questions if there are any on that. In which case I would ask Nick and Amy to come forward, please. Welcome, Nick. Welcome, Amy. Who's going to speak to the report? Would it be you, Nick?
Morena koutou. Yes, I'm happy to just do a quick introduction.
Thank you.
So the Buddle Street Pump Station project is a $3.5 million project, so a major one for us, of which $2 million is, or approximately $2 million is the cost of construction, which we're just about to undertake. And the why is that our pump capacity for large catchments of the city is a big risk element to us. And this project will increase capacity, improve resilience, both from a weather event aspect and from failure and maintenance perspective, and of course also rising demand. We're about to get underway and wanted to highlight, so this paper is for information only, just highlight the fact that there will be disruption, there will be traffic management, there will be vibration, there will be noise, as with any civil engineering project, and that obviously gets escalated when you do it in the middle of town. So we're in a vulnerable position. It's work that we need to do. We have planned, ably led by Amy here, as well as we can to get into it. But the point of this is to highlight the fact predominantly that we may ruffle some feathers. It's not inevitable, but things do happen with these civil engineering projects that just not please everyone through the development of them. So that's an introduction. Other than that, happy to take the paper as read, and I've got Amy with me here to answer any of the difficult questions. I'll take the easy ones.
Thank you, Nick. Just reading through the report, there seems to be, was that the only site that was really available? When you read the risk to surrounding buildings, noise, etc., I just wondered, was there another option, or was that it?
It was. Sorry about that. I sort of came on board after the design was relatively progressed, but that obviously there's existing gravity infrastructure already in the ground, and so that a lot of that dictated the location, and then obviously the required footprint that could accommodate the pump station size was also a factor as well. So you have gravity pipes at a specific grade that's receiving. We've got a couple of wastewater pump stations on Murupara Drive, and we've got all of Hillcrest, so that all comes down through large gravity pipes behind the Strand and then into the McAllister pump station, so that a lot of that dictated the location.
Okay, thank you. So obviously they've got sufficient insurance cover against any damage to existing buildings and infrastructure.
That comes down as a liability insurance for the contractor undertaking the civil works, and we did get feedback from Aon, our insurance provider or broker, around what that level of cover should be, and that's been included in the contract documentation as well.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, Deputy Mayor.
You said you wanted an easy one, so I'll start you off with a nice easy one. I was reading in there that you have been having discussions with New World Supermarket.
Yes.
I just see that there's also the Mitre 10 and Pofakaro, which are bigger organisations in there as well, given the noise and all that. Have you had discussions with them just to let it know it's happening and the impact it might have on the
I haven't been in and personally spoken to Mitre 10 or Pofakaro. We have done a letter drop and spoken to all of the premises along the Strand. I think in terms of traffic management and stuff like that, Mitre 10 should be very low impacted, but potentially there could be some noise. I wouldn't expect a lot of vibration impacts because they are quite far set back. We have recently just had a media release in the Beacon and some comms through socials, and when we do kick off the works, we can do a wider letter drop to certainly cover those businesses.
Great, thank you.
Councillor Whittaker.
Thank you. I see the original estimate is 3.47 million. Do you have a contingency built into that? And if so, what percentage?
There's a 20% contingency built into the civil works contract. Also, part of the rest of that budget does cover pump supply and a few other mechanical components which are not included within the civil construction contract.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Amick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Nick and Amy. This is a quick one too. How long is the inconvenience to the Strand community likely to occur?
Yeah, sure, good question. So works are set to kick off after the Easter weekend, and we're aiming to have everything finished and commissioned by the end of August this year.
Okay, so a couple of months, 3 months, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Boynton.
Just following on from Councillor Amick's question, is there, with the pump station and that being there, would there be, once it's completed, would there be further interruptions to business because of just general maintenance and working of that site?
Most of the infrastructure's underground, so we wouldn't
right.
expect to have many interruptions there. There would be obviously ongoing maintenance required for getting in and cleaning and maintaining those pumps, but it is in the berm area and we would expect very limited interruption.
Thank you.
Okay, councillors, any further questions? They're not? Okay, I'm going to put the recommendation that the Projects and Services Committee receives the Buddle Street Wastewater Pump Station Project Report. Can I have a mover? Councillor James. Seconder? Councillor Boynton. Debate? There being no debate, I'm going to put the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against and carried. And, thank you to Nick and Amy, who've already left the table. Right. Moving on, are we? Very good. Okay, councillors, the next report is item 7.4, the proposal for the implementation of licence plate recognitions, the recognition system. So, welcome to the table, Nancy. I believe you're going to be ably supported by David Bewley if we need him, but you're going to present the report, so the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. I don't think I'll need you, David, but we'll see. Here we go.
Let's see what the questions are first, Nancy.
You never need them till something goes wrong.
No.
But we're not going to have that happen today, I don't think. I basically bring this report to you today for a multitude of reasons. One in particular is our parking staff and the protection of our parking staff in the current climate of the way things are going and the way behaviours are. We're finding that our parking staff are constantly being abused, be it verbally, be it threatened. And we've actually had some staff take some time off due to some of these situations. We're finding that it's becoming quite aggressive out there. Even the physical chalking of vehicles, people find themselves having their property defaced, if you will. So I basically come to you asking you for approval through the annual plan in the 26-27 process to budget for the implementation of the license plate recognition vehicle. We currently already have an existing vehicle, so it would just be a matter of setting up the kit to our hybrid vehicle, so we're not going to have extra costs with the usage of fuel either. So that's what I'm seeking Council's approval for today.
Thank you, Nancy. I mean, it's certainly something that has been, as long as I've been on council, the traffic wardens that we've had, and I mean, you have to admire their tenacity to go out there every day, and I know that there's been a huge turnover. And even in the room, I think we have one that was a traffic warden in the past who certainly, so welcome, Chris, and I know the conversations we'd had. So this is obviously a sign of the way forward. My only question is, do we, or are we still able to recognise expired warrants and registrations?
Legislatively, we can't have a look at the warrants, but apparently we do have the technology now to look at the registrations. And the reason that is when we go in to have a look at the license plate to ensure that it's the appropriate owner, the registration information is there, the warrant of fitness information is not.
But it will also pick up if they are illegitimate plates or something on that vehicle, is that?
It would take a bit of digging. So essentially we find that out when an infringement goes out, the ticket goes out, and then it's not going to the appropriate person.
Right. Okay. Councillor Remick and then Councillor James.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Nancy.
Good morning.
I'm semi-excited about this. I like the idea just with the trial period that we've already been able to capture a lot of people who are over parking. But can you just talk us through, so the car drives around, checks the licence plate numbers, and only if they've, so how does the time start? And then from the time start, how does it come back to council to issue infringement notices? What's that process?
Good question. So essentially, they hop in the vehicle and they'll have a route sort of designed for themselves, and I think they already have that down since doing the trial. So they'll drive around, they'll do all the areas, the 10-minute, 30-minute, all the way up to 3 hours on Stewart Street. And so they do their circuit. And usually once they're done, they can come back, have a cup of tea, or perhaps do a bylaw job while they're waiting. And then when that time is up, they just hop back in the vehicle and they drive down again. And so what happens is the license plate recognition equipment takes photos of the license plates. And then when they do the circuit again, it takes another photo. And then what happens is they come back into the office, they sit down on their tablet that's collated all the information, and then they compare the 2 photos, or the 3 photos or 4 photos, however long that vehicle's been sitting there. And they can either say, yep, definitely that vehicle's been sitting there for too long, and they hit a button that says infringe or ticket, and that just gets sent away, and then the tickets get processed.
Supplementary. So it recognises that they've overstayed. So you push ticket or infringement. So how do you have all their captured details to send them to where? Because they might not be living where they are, or they might not have an email or any other sort of contact details.
So that goes directly from the license plates. So the registration, we have a database that we collate that information from. The license plate number goes into there. The owner of the vehicle populates the address, phone numbers, email, all that sort of stuff populates in there. And then that's how it gets sent away to their house.
Right. A few more, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Just on process.
Yes.
And so I know that we have traditionally not been that successful in recovering past infringements that have occurred. This is going to be more, it's going to be more volume of infringement, so we should likely receive a little bit more income. Is that correct?
Likely, with more tickets, will increase the income.
And then people will get used to this system put into place and not overpark.
That's a possibility, but what I find, and what I think, and myself included, human nature, we tend to forget. So we'll be compliant for a little while, all good, we'll go park in the back car park that has free parking all day, and then we're going to get lazy one day and we're going to come back and we're going to park on the side of the road. That's limited car park.
All right, well, thank you.
Oh, I don't think you will, because I got caught up in Tauranga and it was a $70 fine, so I won't forget that one in a hurry. Councillor James, to be followed by Councillor Dennis.
Councillor Emmons covered just about everything I was going to ask, but hi, Nancy. And I was also going to ask, are we going to be able to reduce staff numbers with this, in this project, but it doesn't sound as though we will still need more than one staff doing the job, won't we?
There won't be an increase of staff numbers. There'll be no necessary reasoning for us to hire anybody else to implement this vehicle. It could possibly reduce some of the, the footwork that we would spend time on, but that being said, it allows us to focus on other jobs like the bylaws and other situations that come on.
Okay, and just supplementary, no, I've forgotten what I was going to ask. So, are the notices, they are going to be sent out electronically, they don't have to be put on the vehicle, go back and put it on the vehicle?
No, that's correct. That also avoids that confrontation.
Yep. Thank you.
Councillor Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nancy, the question I had a few questions, but obviously lost them in notation. So in the last few years, we've been losing 140,000 per year on carrying out this activity. When you say that the new cost for installing the subscription and equipment is going to be 24,000 on average per year, will that be on top of the 140,000?
I'm confused where the 140,000 comes from, sorry.
It actually states in here, and I can't find it 'cause it's not highlighted. There it says we've been running a loss of 140,000 over the last, per annum over the last few years. And last year was 140, and it's increasing. Just try to find it.
It's in the first paragraph of 7.2.1.
Thank you.
Yes, and it's a reference to previous years,
Oh, yeah, okay.
end of year balance.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So do you feel that we will be able to reduce that by using this vehicle? And if we can't, if it still stays at that loss, will the 24,000 per annum or the 78,000 over 3 years, will that add to that loss?
I don't see us having a loss at all. If anything, I think the efficiency of the vehicle will make that disappear. The other thing too is when we have these staff members that are out there, if an incident happens and it happens at 9 o'clock in the morning when they first hit the street, that's it for the day. That's our parking enforcement over, essentially. Whereas if we have the vehicle, we can actually enforce a lot more regularly and a lot more efficiently.
Yeah, thank you. That was my second question or query, is that will this new system enable you to go further and more often? And obviously you've just answered that. Is that correct?
Yes, we'll be able to cover a lot more ground in a lot less time.
Will that include the outlying towns?
We would.
Waimana, etc.?
We probably.
No. We've still got horsepower.
We have every Wednesday booked to enforce Waimana. It will definitely allow us to reach out a bit further. We will have more time to be able to hop over the hill and enforce a Hopi. A couple of the particular areas that we're concerned about are the broken yellow lines around school areas, mostly to protect our tamariki. And any time that we've sent our staff out to do any of the school patrols, it's very confrontational. The parents are on high alert. So it would be quite nice to be able to just drive by the car a couple of times in a matter of 5 minutes, and we know that the schools are becoming a safer place to walk around.
Mr. Chairman, can I have a third one, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Nancy, in regard to disabled parking areas, will this camera also work for that?
Unfortunately, it will not. With the disability car parks, they have to have a sign or some sort of a permit within their vehicle, and most of the time they're predominantly in the front. The license plate recognition vehicle is unable to pick that up. I'd really like to think or hope that one day the technology is there so that the registration plate is registered alongside the disability permit as well, but that's beyond us. So we would have to do those by foot or by phone call or photo.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, next is Councillor Hamill, followed by Deputy Mayor Dukes and then Councillor Boynton. So in that order, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's really good to have this option coming to us and understand our health and safety requirements as employers, and it's a reflection on the sort of environment that we're in. My question was on option 1, that you have recommended option. I just want to clarify, we have ability to trial this for, say, 3 years. Then we may, if we don't find it's effective as we had hoped, or costs have escalated or changed, we can have the ability to go back to status quo.
Yes, that's if we choose option C. Yeah, that's correct. If we choose option C, it is a subscription-based function, and there's no contract. We can pull the pin within a month's time.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Dukes.
Thank you. Just a comment just based on what you said about the recognition for the disabled car parking. Yes. I think going forward that would actually be very, very difficult because a lot of the disabled people, like my mum, for example, other people are driving them.
Yes.
So there's multiple vehicles for that one disabled card. So I think that would still going to pose quite an issue. But my actual question was, are we also going to consider the signage about the parking limits? Because it currently seems to only be when you're entering like the CBD or the crossings or something, because one of the most commonly asked questions from particularly visitors who come into my shop is, what's the parking timing limit here? Because I haven't seen a sign, and we do get that a lot. So I'm just sort of thinking if we're going to be more vigilant with the
parking, I think maybe the signage, what the parking limit is, may need to improve
It is something that we can look at.
without exuberant cost.
Okay, councillor Boynton.
Thank you for your report. I just, I might have missed it, but would the revenue from the prosecution or the tickets help supplement the cost of the services and the subscription?
Yes.
Okay. Can I have a supplementary question? Another question actually. How many of those tickets who were collected end up in a type of prosecution? So what happens? So if somebody sent the ticket, if we've got a big increase in tickets going out to people and then they don't end up paying, what happens to them? Does that go into some kind of criminal thing? Does it go on their record? What happens?
It's not quite that
Yeah.
firm. So what happens is the ticket gets issued. They have 28 days to pay the ticket or fight the ticket, if you will. If it hasn't been paid by then, they get another 28-day reminder to pay their ticket. After those 28 days, the tickets get sent to the courts. And then it gets left with the courts to collect. And that's where the courts negotiate either they're forced to pay it or they just drop the ticket or perhaps they put them on a payment plan.
Okay. Just following on from that, because we, under the current circumstances, many in our district, we have such high deprivation in our district. We have lots of satellite towns in which people have to drive into town to be able to do their business and things like that. Often people are stressed because of the cost of living crisis, but my concern is it's been long identified that the court system is the beginning of the pipeline for many who come from more impoverished settlements and communities to be burdened more. So they probably more likely to be fined because they obviously can't afford to pay the fines in the first place, and then they end up going through a court system. Is there anything being done to sort of identify or work with making sure the communication of this goes out to those communities, or the communication or comms with social services to make whānau aware of these charges so that they don't end up in that situation?
This will be very well communicated. Definitely by no means do we plan to just spring it on the communities. We do have a comms plan that we will put out in place. And also, that being said, we're not hard-fisted and no excuses. Anybody that gets a ticket is welcome to come in and explain their situation.
Okay, Mayor Tangos.
Thank you. Just following on from Councillor Boynton's question. So I think I heard that the system won't pick up lapsed warrant of fitnesses, but it can pick up lapsed registrations. But I'm guessing that it only does that where it's recognised that a vehicle has been parking for too long. So like it won't just snap that, but if you've been parking for too long, when you go through the process of issuing the thing, it will also recognise that there's lack of registration.
Correct.
Thank you, which I think is helpful because I'm very sympathetic to Councillor Boynton's point about inequity and people who are really struggling to keep their cars legal having fines on top. But I think it's some comfort if we're not actually snapping people for registrations, we're snapping people for parking, and that's something that's entirely within their hands, no matter their financial situation.
That's good. Sorry, that was what I was worried about, was that the camera would go around, would have our whānau, say from Ruatahuna or Murupara and that, and they just need to get in for that appointment. They haven't managed to pay their rego or pick up their prescription or whatever it is, and then they end up, most of the time they come in and they will have a set lot of things they need to do to get while they're in town. And so they might get, I was worried about those who would be parking and that any car would be picked up and pinged. Yeah.
Thank you, councillor. I mean, that already applies. If you get a parking ticket, same applies. So really, the consequences are no different, whether it be on the plate recognition or by a manual ticket for over parking. Councillor Emmett.
It's just a comment, if that's okay, Mr. Chair.
I'll take a comment.
Thank you. I guess just with the comms, just to remind people where the free parking is.
Absolutely.
So people don't know about the, bottom of Clifton Road, whereabouts on the back of the Strand it is, and if we're doing it, we might as well.
Stewart Street.
Those two birds, thanks.
Okay, if there's no further questions of clarification, I'm going to ask for a call for recommendation 1, that the Projects and Services Committee receive the report proposal implementation of licence plate recognition system. You're happy to move, Councillor Hamill?
I was going to move 1C. I think, did we need to?
Can we no, I'm just receiving the report at this stage, Deputy Mayor.
Oh, sorry, just did the first one.
Yep.
Moved on.
So move, Councillor Hamill. I did state at the beginning, we'll do them separately. So do I have a seconder? Councillor Boynton. All those in favour, please say aye. Against and carried. Right, recommendation 2, that the Projects and Services Committee approve for inclusion and consideration during the 2026-2027 annual plan development, the purchase of licence plate recognition equipment for installation into a council vehicle in order to automate the parking enforcement function. Can I have a mover? Councillor James. Seconder? Councillor Rimmick. Debate. Mayor Tanchos.
I have a debate contribution, but I also have a question of clarification coming back to the Deputy Mayor's point about which option we're actually choosing here, because the resolution currently talks about purchasing equipment, whereas if we go for option 1C, it's a lease, which is what I support. So can we, before I give my debate, can we clarify that?
Okay, let's have the debate then around which option. Is 1C the preferred option? If that is the case, can we just have a show of hands? Okay, I think that's cut and dried, so...
Can we amend the resolution then
just with the addition of option 1C being the recommended option?
Thank you.
Sorry?
The mover and seconder approve the amendment?
Yes, you're taking words out of my mouth, but anyway, that's fine, yes. On that basis, the mover and the seconder approve. Right, now I'll put the recommendation with that inclusion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Debate.
Okay, debate.
It's always interesting that the amount of interest in this topic is great. I just have a couple of things I just wanted to say, because I think this is a really great initiative. First of all, it's going to improve parking availability. By having better enforcement of parking, it actually keeps people flowing, keeps the traffic flowing, and it makes parking more available. So I think that's a huge benefit for our community. It's probably not a big issue in Waimana, so we don't need to send the cars out there probably. I think, it's been brought to our attention the health and safety issues, which is important. And it's interesting that the large aggression that comes from I don't want to say Karens, because I know lots of Karens who are really lovely people, but soccer mums and dads, that's interesting. That's where we get particular aggression around the school. So I think that's a really great benefit for our staff. One of the things I think this does is help, because we're looking at our costs and how we can spread the costs of our services differently. What this does is it helps us avoid parking fees. And I know there's a lot of concern in our community about that one day we're going to introduce parking fees, and this actually avoids it because we're not introducing parking fees, we're simply enforcing the rules that already exist. So I think that's really helpful. And what we've been told that is that this is at least cost neutral, if not cash positive, and I think that's really helpful as well. And then the other thing I was just going to add in terms of option C that we're going for, that's a good thing because it means there's no big upfront costs. It means that the overall cost over 3 years is much less, and it means we can withdraw if it's not working well. So I think we've come to a great resolution. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, any further debate? There being no further debate, I put the recommendation with that, with that amendment. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against and carried. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
We got there, all right. Look, on that note, we were going to, I think we'll adjourn for morning tea. You okay with that, ladies in the back? Quarter of an hour? Okay, so we'll reconvene at 10:15. Councillors, we'll reconvene and welcome to the table Wendy and Chris. So item 7.5, the event road closures, Wharu Wānanga o Awanuirangi's graduation hekoi. So anything you'd like to add to that report, Wendy?
Morena tātou, thank you, Chair. To briefly introduce the road closure report and highlight the key points. We have received a request for the temporary road closure of Matata Street and the rolling parade of the annual Te Whare Wānanga or Awanuirangi graduation hikoi. The graduation hikoi parade occurs every year to celebrate the graduation of these students amongst whānau, friends and our community. Assembling at Mitchell Park, the procession proceeds through the town ending at Matata Street. The request is for the recommendation of approval for the rolling closure through town and the temporary closure of Matata Street. We're open to any partai and questions.
Thank you, Wendy. Okay, councillors, any questions or clarification? Councillor Boynton, I can see you're itching for a question. Okay, all right. Well, we'll just go to Councillor Dennis.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just a question at the very beginning, where it talks on page 47 about the rolling closure and the street's going to be closed from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Does that mean that the street will stay open until the marchers actually reach that point of the street that needs closing?
Thank you, Councillor Dennis. So the parade and the procession will start at Mitchell Park at 9:30 and that proceeds through the town and that will only take usually approximately 20 minutes to half an hour. The temporary closure is for Matata Street and that is from 9:30 till 2 p.m. as part of the graduation celebrations at Murupara Drive.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Any further questions? Wendy, is this not the usual route that they've followed in previous years, is it?
Yes, no, the route is correct. They just have added into the procession along the way. They have groups of tamariki from various kura that stand at several locations along the way, and they just they give them a celebratory haka or waiata, just some form of encouragement and acknowledgement as they proceed through with their graduations.
Cool. Okay. Any further questions, councillors? Okay, the recommendations, and I'm going to take both of these together, all right? That the Projects and Services Committee receives the report, event closure, and number 2, that the Projects and Services Committee recommend to the Whakatane District Council to approve the temporary road closure for the event. Can I have a mover for those two? Moved, Councillor Boynton, seconded, Councillor Amick. Debate. Councillor Boynton.
Yes, I'd just like to do a contribution, really, rather than debate. Thank you for the report, but also just to acknowledge Te Whare Wānanga Awanuirangi, and I believe this would be more than 10 years that this the town and gown has been happening, and with every year we have a larger and larger cohort of graduates. From what I recall, in the last graduation we had one of the largest cohort of PhD students graduate. Which is an amazing achievement for Te Whare Wānanga Awanuirangi, but also too for those communities of which those PhD graduates come from. And the celebration also reminds me of us. We recently had our youth council come in here and be welcomed and be part of sitting in chambers. But for our rangatahi who are part of those kura who acknowledge their whānau and those graduates in this hikoi, it's a way of them seeing themselves there. It's a way of instantly seeing, there's my auntie, there's my cousin, there's my uncle, I'm going to do that one day. So there's that benefit that happens to our wider community, but also that our township is part of that. Our whole community is part of seeing that success happen. So I'm very pleased to support this and see it continue into the future. Kia ora.
Thank you, councillor. Okay, if there's no further debate, I'll put those recommendations. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against and carried. Thank you, ladies. All right. Okay, we're going to move on now to item 7.6, the Murupara Resource Recovery Centre Charges Review. Welcome to the table, Honey Patrick, and a very special welcome to Lisa Reeve. Welcome aboard. I know you're not officially, I think your start date sometime next week, but I think you're very well known throughout the communities, Lisa, and we're pleased that you are taking up this position. So welcome to the table and welcome to the first report. Okay, are you going to speak to the report on at this stage?
Yeah, well, I'll become more and more redundant as this paper goes on with someone like Lisa next to me, but I just wanted to take this opportunity for Lisa to introduce herself. She'll be beginning on 13th of April, which is a big honour and a huge relief as well for us. So I'll let Lisa introduce herself.
Thank you, Honey. Lisa.
Kia ora tātou. Ko Lisa tōku ingoa. Many of you do know me quite well already, but for those of you who don't know me, I thought it would be a good idea to give you a bit of an introduction, my background, where I come from. I am a very boring person career-wise. I've been working in the waste sector since I left university, which is longer than I probably want to tell you. I started in local government, and so it's really nice actually to be coming back to local government. But for the last 17 years, I've been working for a waste consultancy called Eunomia. And some of you will have seen me at council meetings previously, presenting on behalf of Eunomia, because we have done quite a few projects for council in the past. I'm a local resident. I've been living in the district for over 17 years, which apparently qualifies me to be a local, to be considered a local. I have 2 children, both at Whakatane High School, so listened to the parking report and the debates about school parking with great interest. And I'm very happy to be stepping into the gap that Nigel has left behind, and looking forward to working with you all from a couple of weeks' time officially.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, now the report. Who's going to speak to the report? Are you going to do this today, Honey?
Yes, I'll open up the report and then open up for any questions. I appreciate that before my time this was quite a hotly contested issue in 2024. And so the review is now finished, and a few of the sort of key findings of that review, the 40% reduction in landfill waste, it does indicate a sort of strong behaviour change and improved waste minimisation. There are differing factors to that, whether it's the charges, implementation of the charges, anecdotal evidence of commercial waste from out of town not going there anymore because of the fees and charges, but it definitely indicates a strong behavioural change. Curbside collections increased by 43 tonnes as well, and that reinforces that behavioural change and shift to curbside collection. Importantly, there's been no reports of illegal dumping. Now, we can only assess that on what is reported to us, but during the review there were no increases in illegal dumping. And while the increase in revenue of circa $65,000 is smaller than initially proposed because of the reduction in waste being dumped, I think it's also important to note the avoidance costs, that the cost that would be associated with the larger amounts of waste being dumped, whether it's levy costs, ETS, landfill costs as well, down at Te Tahi. So those are the main findings of the review. So we will open to questions, because I'm sure there's some other points of debate as well you guys will want to discuss.
Thank you, Honey. Okay, open up for questions of clarification. Councillors, Councillor Boynton.
Kia ora kōrua. I'm just want to have a pātai. I know that when we went up onto the visit up to Minganui and also to Murupara as well, that Ngāti Whare, or members of Ngāti Whare had highlighted about how the charges had a large impact on them and their costs because they were collecting twice a week from their community, and then not only that, having to transport, the cost of transporting the waste and then paying the fees. My pātai was whether or not any consideration had been had for potential, I don't know, different charges, particularly for those who have a long way to travel to be able to, get rid of their waste, but also too because they're doing it for the community as a whole, obviously, to make sure that, rubbish isn't being left around their community. Has there been consideration of any kind of like subsidy or option for them?
Honey.
Are you referring to Minganui? There has been consideration, but I mean, if we get direction from council to sort of further investigate that consideration and bring something back, we'd be happy to.
Can I say?
Yeah, please.
Okay, Mayor Tantros. Oh, sorry.
Can I just add to that, just briefly?
Go for it.
So, Councillor Boynton, we have had some conversations about Minganui specifically, following on from the questions that have been asked previously. What we can tell you so far is we've explored a couple of options as to how Minganui could potentially be better incorporated into the waste services that are provided in that area. The contractor has advised us that their collection vehicles are currently at capacity for their Murupara runs. And so I guess, that kind of takes the immediately easy option off the table, which is looking at including Minganui in some kind of curbside collection. So there's a number of other options that we can definitely explore. Minganui is a bit of a complex case because of the way that the properties are rated. It's something that we would want to come up with a solution that suited them and not just try and say, oh, here you go, here's the answer. So definitely something that we will be looking at further, but don't have an easy answer for you today.
Great, thank you.
I mean, I guess possibly that could lead more into the master plan that we're developing for Minganui. That could be another consideration that we have to investigate. Okay, thanks for that, Lisa. Mayor Tantros, to be followed by Councillor Emick.
Thank you. And thanks for the response to that. I think it's quite helpful to understand that we're kind of grappling with how we address that problem. I had a couple of questions, just trying to understand what the data's telling us about the impacts of the introduction of fees or the trialling of it, because what I've heard is that there's a 40% reduction of land going through the facility. Looking at the figures, and maybe I'm not reading them right, but it's hard to see where that's going. We're not seeing illegal dumping. We're seeing pretty minimal changes. I mean, the glass recycling is interesting because it's got this bi-monthly kind of flow, but on average, it doesn't look like it's changed that much. The curbside refuse doesn't look like it's changed that much, and neither the curbside recycling. So I'm just trying to understand where this waste is going.
Do you want me to answer that?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mayor Tantros. So it's a difficult question to answer with any certainty because we don't have sufficient historical information relating to the waste that's been going into Murupara RTS. The assumption that we've made is that people have been using Murupara RTS from out of the district. And now that the fees have been introduced, that's no longer taking place.
That makes a great deal of sense. Thank you for that. And I should have prefaced my question by just saying welcome, and it's really great to have you on board. Okay, Councillor Emick,
to be followed by Councillor Hamill, then Councillor Whitaker and Councillor Morgan Ranui. Okay, off we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, Malcolm Huni and Lisa. Just a quick one really about the curbside. So they have the same recycling bin systems that we do?
Correct.
And how have they been going in terms of not putting the right things in the right bins, like we have that here and the rest of the rohi? Yeah.
Okay. So contamination in curbside recycling collections in Murupara is not significantly different to anywhere else in the rest of the district. There's the occasional anecdotal story that we hear about quite significant contamination incidents. I don't know if people who've been around for a while recall the deer contamination example, which is one that I love to use in my work. So it's not significantly different. What we have been seeing, though, since the fees were introduced, is that people have been using their curbside services more. And this, I guess, gives a little bit of comfort in thinking about continuing those fees, because they're using a service that is already funded, already paid for, whereas previously, I think what we probably saw was people using the convenience of collecting up a bunch of rubbish and then going into the transfer station and just taking it all in at once, whereas now what they're doing is they're using the curbside service that they already had available to them anyway.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Hamill.
Thank you very much, and welcome, Lisa, to the team. It's great to have you. I think it's been really good having a trial. Gives us a bit of a year to gain a bit of data and evidence, and I think it takes probably more than a year to build up patterns of behaviour. So there is that. My short question is, has there been consideration of a weighbridge being installed? Because I wondered if it's possible that we've been underestimating the volume and then getting reduced income.
Thank you, Councillor Hamill. Absolutely, there's been consideration of a weighbridge, but weighbridges are really expensive, and the quantity of waste that goes through Murupara RTS doesn't warrant that expenditure. For a time, there was government assistance to install weighbridges at rural transfer stations, because of the issue that you've raised, knowing that data from those rural transfer stations is less reliable because we're converting volume to weight. That financial assistance is no longer available, and so that just doesn't really make it feasible to put a weighbridge in.
Okay. Supplementary then. What is the actual realistic cost of a weighbridge?
You're looking at somewhere between probably 200,000 and 300,000.
Okay.
To put a basic single lane weighbridge in.
Okay, thank you. And another supplementary. I just was interested in the waste levies and how where central government's increasing those. Where are they at the moment? Are they still increasing year by year?
The government hasn't indicated any future increases in the landfill levy beyond what we've got coming already, so there's another increase coming at the 1st of July. But as you probably know, government's currently reviewing the Waste Minimisation Act, which is where all of the waste levies are set and what all of the regulations hang off, and it's likely that when the revised legislation comes out, we will also find out something more about levy fees. We're currently doing a review for the Ministry on the effectiveness of the landfill levy, and this is something that they are required to do under the Act every few years. And the early indications are that at the level that the levy is currently set, we are actually seeing a bit of a decoupling of waste to landfill from economic activity, which is traditionally what it's followed. So that suggests to us that the level of the landfill levy at the moment is actually starting to have an effect on people's behaviour.
Right. Okay.
We're also seeing quite a lot of construction and demolition waste being diverted from those big Class 1 landfills, which is where our household waste goes to the landfills that are actually dedicated to C&D waste. And that's, again, something that was predicted at about this level of disposal levy.
Okay, that's good to hear. Thank you.
Councillor Whitaker.
Good morning, Lisa. Thank you. I think it's a very encouraging report, really good result. My question is there any ability or space to actually set up a sort of a recycling area similar to Crew out there?
Thank you, Councillor Whitaker. Yeah, that's a really interesting question, and it's something that has been, I guess, mooted a number of times in the past, is how can we increase the diversion opportunities for the Murupara community so that they can reduce their reliance on landfill waste. I think similar to the introduction of Crew, which I was involved in right at the very start, my husband ran it for the first couple of years, so I got a pretty good understanding of how it happened. It relies really on community involvement and community partnership, and that's what we would want to look for if we were going to work in the Murupara community to try and introduce those type of diversion opportunities. Who is there locally that is interested and willing, and we can engage with to develop something in partnership rather than just come in and go, here you go, here's your reuse centre.
Okay.
So definitely something that I'm keen to look into further.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Morgan Ranui.
I have no questions. They've all been answered by other people. All good.
Okay, thank you, Councillor.
Nice report.
Okay, let's go back to the recommendations. Happy to take both those recommendations together? All right. Would Councillor be prepared to move? Councillor Emick? Move. Mayor Tanchos seconds. So we're open for debate. Debate from any quarters? No? Okay, there being no debate, sorry? Yep. Yes, there is. Yep. Yes. So which option are you putting forward an option? It is. Okay. With that preferred option 1, can I get an indication from a raise of hands once again? Is that agreeable with everyone? Yes, yes, yes. Okay. With the inclusion of option 1, I'll put the resolutions 1 and 2. All those in favour, please say aye. Against and carried. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Hone. All right. Well, I've thanked you both. All right. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing more of your inputs. Thank you, Lisa. Okay, we're going to move on now to report number 7.7, the Rex Morpeth Recreation Hub Redevelopment Phase 1 project. And again, this is just a progress update. So welcome to the table, Alex and Kevin. Your report starts on page 65. Right, which one of you would like to introduce the report? Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. Welcome. Okay, anything you'd like to add?
So look, the first thing I just want to add or confirm is that it is just an update. There are no decisions being sought from this report. So yeah, I just want to provide an update on the 3 key work streams happening within the overall program of works, the first one being functional upgrades. So just quickly, the bulk of the functional upgrades works, they are in planning phase and will be for the remainder of the year. So concept design has just been closed out and we're now in preliminary design where those concepts will be further tested, refined and costed before moving into sort of detailed construction drawings, which will then go to the market. You'll find some sample images of those concepts on page 70 to 72. And then just in terms of timeframe, so we're currently targeting January 2027 for commencing these works. And early forecasts are indicating that these will take about 6 months. And I just want to caution that those timeframes are indicative. We won't be able to actually, confirm a construction program until a contractor is engaged for the works. Communications and engagement they're well underway. So we got some letters out to all users of the hall earlier in March. We met face-to-face with a lot of them over the past week, so theatre users, reception lounge, stadium users, etc. We've also started engaging with interested parties, so those who don't necessarily use the hall on a regular basis but have a high interest, like the RSA. And then, look, we'll just continue to stay in contact with them throughout the project as it progresses, and some of them will actually be involved in design as we move through that process as well. And then the last thing I want to signal with those works is that in parallel with the design work, there are some early works happening, and of note is the reception lounge roof cladding replacement. So that's virtually complete now. Contractors are just putting the final touches on those works. And then in parallel with the functional upgrades, the concept plan work is also continuing. And then, look, this plan is really just aimed at addressing those key challenges that face the hub, those key facility challenges, as well as addressing those capacity issues that we've previously reported on, largely relating to indoor court supply and demand. Unlike the previous plan, which proposed $100 million of investment, the current approach is more targeted and is focused on core renewals and evidence-based capacity improvements, which will significantly reduce the overall investment required. The draft concept plan will now go through an internal governance review. From there, we'll be engaging with key users, and then we'll go to elected members for workshopping later this year. And then lastly, just want to signal that the funding plan work is also happening in the background. It is in early stages, and as previously reported, the funding environment has changed a lot since the last long-term plan, where that key assumption of 50% external funding was assumed, and that's no longer looking likely. So the team is looking at alternative sources, and we'll just keep you up to date as that work stream progresses. That concludes my overview. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, councillors, any questions of clarification? Councillor Whittaker?
Thank you, Kevin. My question's around the ceiling of the stadium roof, and I'm just wondering how you're going to do it. I seem to remember the price tag was around $266,000, and I'm wondering how you're going to do it, whether you'll do it manually or you may use a drone to actually put some sort of emulsion over the top of that roof to seal it.
Well, in regards to the price of those works, I can't comment on that in this forum, but happy to share it in another forum. That's under live procurement at this stage, so just wouldn't be appropriate to share those kind of detailed figures. But in regards to how we're doing the works, they're actually already underway. So there was some pre-treatment applied to the stadium roof to kill off all the moss and mould, and then the actual sealing works will commence later this month or in May. But that's all weather permitting.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Kevin, for your report. Just, I had a few questions, but I've lost them with my notations. But on the page 70, which you've got the diagram for the entry area, which I think diagrams are really good, I couldn't quite work out what's changed on the bottom set of ones on page 70, the door entrance. Like you've got the big black side pieces, which I presume relate to the block walls that are already there. So what are you trying to picture that's going to change in there?
It's the elevation, wasn't
it? So the main change there is actually removing that low-hanging soffit, which it's quite oppressive when you walk in there. And it's also changing out the joinery, so making that whole entranceway more accessible. So going from auto doors or the existing single glazed aluminium doors to auto doors.
Thank you. I think your next set of pictures down below where you show the better access to the little theatres, it looks really good. So one of my other main questions is apart from the fact I really like the reduced amount of money needed for tranche 2, I think that's really, you've done really exceptional there. When you go back up to page 69, and you've got that mentioned it somewhere else, but I can't find it. But on that diagram, where you've got the difference between tranche 1 and tranche 2, under the bottom blue thing, you've got design consent and contractor procurement. So could you just explain to me I appreciate we've got to do design work and the consent work ready for beginning of the tranche 2 after 2027. What's the procurement? Is that we're actually starting to buy materials in, or actually signing contracts with contractors, etc.?
Yeah, it's the latter. So actually looking for a main contractor to undertake the package of works. So that's quite a significant process, given it'll be quite a large sum. So that process will take a number of months to work through in line with our procurement policy.
So in regard to that, does that mean we will be, before we've agreed to tranche 2, we'll have agreed to contract with a main contractor and thus cost us extra money leading into that, or will that all be part of tranche 2?
Sorry, I'm not quite following your question there.
So for the $7.7 million for tranche 1, will the signing up of a contractor to complete tranche 2, will that come under that 7.7 million, or will we need to advance money forward to pay for that contractor, or an initial payment to that contractor to secure him?
So the contracted works that we're looking at for tranche 2 is all within the existing LTP budget allocation. So there's,
Okay, I'm just having a bit of difficulty working out which is tranche 1 and tranche 2. Obviously, the works, you're talking about the entrance to the foyer and all that is all tranche 1, is it?
No, yeah, sorry, I realise it's probably a bit confusing. So tranche 1 refers to those early works that don't require any significant level of planning, design, consent, that are already underway. So for example, the reception lounge roof cladding replacement, theatre safety works, but tranche 2 refers to really the big package of works, so the internal refurbishment of the foyer, reception lounge, the theatre, and all of those safety and functional upgrades throughout the whole facility.
So they're tranche 2, but we're going to secure the contractor before the crossover into tranche 2. We've got to secure the contractor before then. And that money comes out of the 7.8, is that correct?
I think the point of clarification here is the 2 blue lines are referring to the work that's required in each tranche, not the actual funding. So it's not tranche 2 funding and tranche 1 funding. It's the tranche 1 works and the tranche 2 works. And I believe what Kevin has said is that there is sufficient funding in the LTP budget at this stage in order to do the concept design stuff, but then there'll be a decision point for councillors ahead of the procurement phase for tranche 2 works, which I think is the question you had. Yeah.
It might be, is it okay if I clarify? I appreciate there's some confusion between phase 1 and phase 2 of the overall project, and tranche 1 and tranche 2 of the functional upgrades budget, which is currently approved. So in that diagram that's pictured under 7.7, all those blocks of works indicated are within the initial LTP functional upgrades budget. To proceed to phase 2 of the wider project, which is the redevelopment of the hub proposal that we will bring towards you later in the year, that is subject to a separate council decision.
Thank you for that point of clarification. I just see that at the top. Yes. This is just the phase 1 works, is that box.
Councillor Ramick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Kristen, and thanks, Kevin, for the report and update. Just regarding, you said you had the engagement with the user groups and the stakeholders. So compared to when we had the full ensuite of what the whole precinct might look like, compared to what we are doing now, not including the possible new redevelopment. So the feedback from the stakeholders has been accepting, or are they frustrated, or are they kind of happy with the way council is progressing?
So the main item that we were discussing with the key users of the facility and other interested parties was really just the works on the hall. We haven't, discussed the wider redevelopment at this point, but that will come. I think we're planning to do that in June. Yeah.
All right. So I'm still aware that there's some community groups who are verbally saying they're still frustrated with the balancing act of trying to book into the hall. Yeah.
If I could just add to that, the overriding theme from the engagement sessions we've had in the last couple of weeks has been we recognise that there's going to be a disruption, but we understand why, and it's more important that we factor that in. So there is a keenness overall from all those users to make sure that the works are carried out in order to get the benefit, but appreciating that. And chiefly it's the timeframes that they're concerned about. So we've been quite clear that the indicative timeframes is as good as we can get, and as soon as we have more certainty, they will know straight away. So it has been really helpful going through those sessions with the key users.
Thank you.
Councillor Boynton.
Thank you for your report. My question was just similar to Councillor Dennis. It was to do with pages 70 and 71. And when we went to visit the site and went through, and when we first saw these pictures relating to the entry, I wanted to ask, was the issue around ensuring that our vans and mobile, disability vehicles and things like that were still able to go drive up close to those steps? Because I know initially, it was going to be raised flat so that the door was going to be in line with the road, but then we were concerned that that would cut out a lot of our mobility vehicles.
Yeah, so look, absolutely. The current access, that those vehicles have at the moment will be maintained moving forward. So we've actually moved away from those extensive level entry works, and that was something we tested a lot during the concept design phase. It was deemed to be just basically too costly. So we've value engineered that one out. So, look, we'll still make it accessible compliant. There'll be improvements to the stairs and ramp there, but won't be those extensive level entry works that were originally proposed.
Great. Supplementary to page 71, and or is it the one underneath? Oh no, it's actually the one underneath, but a bit of page 71, and it was to do with the entry foyer. So after you've gone into the entry, I was just wanting to see where the entry into the hall was, because I see there's a little door there on the left, because many of the events that I've attended in the past or been involved with, the entry was a really, you came into the foyer, but then you had to ensure everybody got through to the event, because I know the hall is used for sports and that, but whenever events are on, there's a whole grand thing about being able to all enter easily into the event and into the hall. So I was just wondering if, where's that gone?
Yeah. Appreciate that. Look, the images provided, they are what are called white card images. So they, aren't, they don't have a, high level of detail there. But that entrance will be maintained moving forward. Yeah, and it will be clear. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Councillor Hamill.
Thank you, Kristen and Kevin. And I think it's really good to get an update on a project that's of quite high interest to the community. And also acknowledge that prioritising the works has been really challenging, but I think you've done a really great job. I understand our funding is going to be a bit more challenging going forward. Question on 4.3, we're going to engage a funding specialist to support external funding attraction. Is that someone that we can redirect through in-house staffing, or
someone that's already doing a similar role in council, or is it an external appointment?
It is likely to be an external appointment, but supported as far as possible with internal resourcing to be able to actually uplift the funding. But I think, you know, the range of sources of funding that we're going to look to for this project are probably a little bit out of council's, you know, comfortable toolbox. This, we'll be looking at philanthropic, corporate and community fundraising probably to a higher degree than we have for other projects, and that just recognises that grants and subsidies is currently less than abundant, but also it's a really beloved set of infrastructure that can attract that kind of funding. And just so to put us on that journey, someone external to be able to help us unlock that.
Thank you.
Any further questions of clarification, councillors? No? Okay, look, put the recommendation that the Projects and Services Committee receives the Morpeth Recreation Hub Redevelopment Project Progress Update. You going to move, Councillor Boynton? Seconded, Mayor Tanchos? Debate? Mayor Tanchos?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just did want to say a couple of words. The first one is to thank you both for a really great piece of work. I think, you know, the way that you, in a context of significant cost escalations in the environment that we're in, I think you've presented us with some ideas which are kind of within the budget, but I think really useful changes to the facility and upgrades. So I think it's really great. And the walkthrough that we did recently with you, I think was really helpful in helping us to kind of just understand what's going on, and probably gave us collectively quite a lot of comfort in what was progressing and the way that you're approaching it in your thinking. I'm pleased to know that we're thinking outside our comfort zone when it comes to funding. That's great. I think as a council, I welcome stepping outside our comfort zone a little bit, so that's really good. And I just want to kind of say, just in terms of, you know, for the community's benefit, really, that, you know, what we're talking about here is really urgent works that need to be done. This is a badly deteriorating facility, and it's a really important part of our community, an important part of our social infrastructure that's used by many different diverse groups of people. And so what, you know, we're talking about fixing leaks and just kind of really basic maintenance like that. We're talking about important health and safety improvements. We're talking about accessibility improvements. These are all critical things. Proper sound systems. As I said, it's a badly deteriorated facility, and also improvements to basic usability. So, you know, some of the concepts we're seeing here around just kind of opening up the space with minor changes, really enlarging it and giving a much grander sense of what it is, I think is really great. So, yeah, I'm just really super happy with what you've presented to us, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Boynton.
I just really want to, it's just a contribution again, just to acknowledge also the report that you've provided. I really enjoyed the whakapapa path that you've been able to identify for it, but which I think is very helpful, not only for us, but also too for our wider public. The issue, the kaupapa of the hub was quite a heated issue at the time last year, and I think that the way that you've presented it, the way that you've been able to take us through the place and communicate it here in this report and to us has taken a lot of that heat out of it, and people can follow quite clearly the facts and also the next steps, which is really, really important. And like Mayor Nandor has identified, it is such an important kind of iconic place. When we went through, I was like, oh, I had my 21st here, this was my 21st, you know, we used to have the Tūhoi Ball here 30 years ago, you know, so that place holds such special memories. My koro helped build the theatre there. I've got photos of him and my dad when my dad was 16, and it was part of volunteering. So a lot of them who were carpenters volunteered their time to contribute to the building of that. So there's a lot of not only history but people's whakapapa is tied to that place. So I really appreciate the mahi that you're doing. And the way that you're doing it to bring not only us but our community along with that journey. So, mihi atu kia ora.
Okay, any further debate? There being no further debate, I will put the recommendation that the Projects and Services Committee receives the Rex Morpeth Recreation Hub Redevelopment Progress Update Report. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against and carried. Thank you to both of you for presenting to us, Kevin and Kristen. Okay. Yep, good work. Thank you. Right, we're going to move on now to the report 7.8, the approval of the Whakatane District Council submission to the Bay of Plenty Regional Council. Lainey and Walt. Good morning, Walt, and you're going to speak to this well-written report. Thank you.
Tēnā koutou, and happy Easter for the coming weekend.
We're nearly there.
Nearly there. So last week, Wednesday, at workshop, we had a discussion that we brought to you around the submission. So following on from that discussion, this paper seeks approval for a submission to go to Regional Council on those matters discussed. Submission is actually due this afternoon, so very, very timely. Just by way of reminder, their consultation document covered 4 topics. The first topic is the restructure of their $3 billion investment portfolio with the intentions of safeguarding that for the future. I see we have Paul Davidson online, which might be really handy. At the workshop last week, we didn't have the benefit of his experience in the room, and he is available today, so he might be able to elaborate on any questions you have and provide a brief overview of some of the discussion in our some of the points in our draft submission. The second topic was how a regional benefit fund might work. So that's quite closely related to topic 1 because it talks to the surpluses of those investment funds that are being restructured, how they might be able to be used both immediately in this coming financial year, but also, I guess, talking about criteria and principles for that fund moving through into the future and what that could look like. The third topic is a signal for investment into Indigenous biodiversity alongside Regional Council's development of a biodiversity strategy for the region, and also really informing their LTP investment as opposed to any investment they might make in the immediate coming year. The fourth topic is not really a topic, but it's an invitation for generally any other comments we might have to the Regional Council, and we do have some commentary in that space as well. So that's just introducing the paper. We might provide a few highlights in terms of what's in the submission, but at this point I wonder if Paul Davidson might be available just to provide a really quick oversight to topic 1, and just, I guess, really quickly just saying thank you to Paul for being here.
Thank you, Walt. Welcome, Paul. Would you like to expand on topic 1, for example?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just checking you can hear me okay?
We can, yes.
Yeah. I think the way we've tried to structure the submission on topic 1 is firstly around the protection of the $3 billion fund. Once it's gone, and therefore we've suggested some legal mechanisms for the Regional Council to explore similarly to what's happened in New Plymouth and what Auckland's doing at the moment to get some statutory protections around that fund, which basically means that it wouldn't be able to be eroded in the future through any form of government change or that. So that's one point. The second is around the importance of having some independent professional investment advice, and Quayside Holdings has been part of that for some time. So we're recommending that whether it's Quayside or something else, but there be a level of independent advice and protection to maintain and or grow that $3 billion fund. And then the third element, which we're also recommending in there, would be to say, how do we ensure that we've actually got the best distribution of anything coming from the fund for the benefit of the region? And that could be in the form of, again, some level of independence, level of cross-council involvement, but making sure that there's some established criteria and that fund is evaluated against that. So it is actually looking at getting the best value out of any return. So that's the basis of the submission. The hybrid model they've suggested. It's supporting that with some modifications, and the modifications are largely around creating this distinction between protection and growth of the investment and how they use that in returns off that investment. That's not exactly how the hybrid model is set up in theirs at the moment. So I've just made that distinction effectively to suggest that that would be, it would mean that the amount, the 3 billion will be protected long term, plus there would be an optimised spend of the return across the region going forward.
Okay. Paul, you weren't available for councillors to put any questions to you the other day, and I'm just wondering if there is any questions councillors might just like clarification on, bearing in mind that, yes, the submission has to be in this afternoon, so there won't probably be any way it can be rewritten, but if there was just some points of clarification that they might like to ask of you while you're online. Do we have any? No? Everyone seems... Oh, sorry, we do. Councillor Remick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon, Paul, and hi, Walt. I'm still actually trying to frame the question in my mind, and I think it was in relation to point 18 on page 82 about supporting regional equity, the fourth inclusion point. And I'm just wondering, I know proportionally they have been doing it based on population rather than geographical size. Is there any way that we can frame it so that there is a balanced interest coming across to the Eastern Bay without the population being considered?
Yeah, I think. Sorry, through you. I think we could easily be a little clearer on what we're intending to mean by equity, and I think words along those lines would probably help to provide some of that clarity. I guess we've spoken in this room at the workshop around equity for us means, I guess, countering that gravity that the West can have because of that population and because of that growth pressure. We haven't necessarily gone as far as to be super clear about that. So I think words along those lines we could easily add and make the approval of the submission subject to, some of those final little tweaks, such as that.
And supplementary. So we'll be speaking to the submission?
We certainly have an opportunity to, and in our cover letter to Bay of Plenty Regional Council, we've asked that we'd like to be heard in support of our submission. We would then wait to hear back on when that might be, and and put that to the mayor to consider who might be most appropriate to attend.
And I had another clarification
Go
question.
for it, yes.
And just going forward to topic 4, other policies and general comments about the Matata Wastewater project. Can I just be reminded, the Department of Health, I think, has ring-fenced $7 million, and we would be seeking, if we got a grant from Regional Council to contribute to it, would that go away, or would it be an and and an and?
The intention is it's an and and an and. So it's 6.8 million at the moment from the Ministry of Health, just sitting there. So this would be, the request to the Regional Council would be in addition to that.
Okay, super, thank you.
Councillor Whittaker.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, I know you don't want to get into too much detail, but when you talk about supporting biodiversity, whether or not we should be a little bit more specific and use an example of the Whakatane Kiwi Trust that used to receive a lot of money for pest control, which went towards biodiversity of that project. And the other one is around incentives for riparian planting for landowners, which, you know, may have a spin-off for people like Minganui with their nursery up there. And I think that's important towards biodiversity in the future. But I know you'll speak to the submission and you'll probably flesh it out there, but perhaps we could just add those little things in. Thank you.
Yeah, once again, I think those are great examples of how we've benefited from some of regional councils' investments, you know, alongside the work they do directly as well. I think putting examples in certainly can't hurt. I also think the development of the biodiversity strategy that the regional council is stepping through at the moment is probably another opportunity to, I'm not sure when and how engagement looks like for that project, but that potentially is another opportunity to influence their approach.
Just another one, Mr. Chair, subsequent. And possibly all our river and drainage schemes are subsidised by 20%. Perhaps we could put in, an appreciation of that, and that will continue to, because I think that's very important for those schemes. Thank you.
Okay, councillors, any further? Well, Councillor Imrie.
Thank you. Kind of just adding to my comment earlier about the regional equity across the Eastern Bay, I know that they have a focus on resilience funding, etc., and the flood wall protection. I wonder if it was worth highlighting a little bit more about that, like aside from our large geographical area, our lack of population, and the frequency of the weather events and the impact it generally has on the Eastern Bay, whether that just, I mean, I don't need to change a whole lot of stuff, but I'm just like, sometimes you don't mention the word in a sentence, it can just kind of slip. You know, they've already prioritised resilient and robust funding for protection of the environment and the CBD, so something along those lines.
Yeah, and it's certainly come up in other debates around this table as well, where we, recognise and acknowledge that, the population mass is over there, but the counter to that is that we have, 60-something odd % of the region geographically is in the Eastern Bay of Plenty, and with that comes, those opportunities for investment into environment, into river schemes, into those functions that are central to Bay of Plenty Regional Council. Yeah.
Okay, any more points of clarification? All right, the recommendation, number one, we'll take them into two separate ones, all right? So to receive the report, can I have a mover? Councillor Whittaker, seconder, Councillor Boynton. Debate? All right, I'll put the recommendation one. All those in favour, please say aye. Against and carried. Recommendation two, that the committee approves the attached submission to the Bay of Plenty Regional Council consultation on their annual plan 26/27 and long-term plan amendment, and approve the attached submission subject to minor amendments as discussed. Perhaps we need a bit more detail. How do you feel, Walt? You're the one that's going to have to do the amendments.
Pardon me. Yeah, I'm happy to make amendments as discussed, and if the table's comfortable with that, that could always be through a final delegation to the GM strategy and policy just to finalise that wording. Okay,
councillors, are you happy with that? All right, move Councillor James, seconded Councillor Whittaker. All those in favour, please say aye. Oh, okay, we'll go more on debate. Sorry, Councillor.
Thank you. My last statement probably should have been in debate. My apologies. Oh, gosh. Oh, I'm just wondering, ahead of our submission time, that perhaps the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor yourselves get together with the Eastern Bay Regional Councillors and ask them what they might anticipate any pushback might be, just in advance of that, when we do an oral submission, that we can kind of address that in advance. That was just a comment.
Times.
Can I ask a clarification? Sorry, are you asking or suggesting that prior to making an old presentation, we just have a chat with the...
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
Not
yeah,
today.
that's fine. Yeah.
All right. Any further debate? No? Okay. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against and carried. Okay, thank you, Walt. Job well done. Thank you, Walt. Okay, okay. Now moved on to item 8, resolution to exclude the public. So I'm going to put the motion to go into public. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Boynton, seconded. Councillor Remick. All those in favour, please say aye. Against and carried. Oh, Walt. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of the meeting. All that remains is for me to restate the recommendations, which were: one, that the Projects and Services Committee receive the Edgecombe to Thornton Cycle Trail update, and two, that the Projects and Services Committee confirm the report is to remain in public excluded until the Chief Executive gives authority to release the information. I don't need to move and second that, it's already done. So on that note, it brings the meeting to a conclusion, and I'm going to ask Councillor Mick if you close with a karakia, please, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr Chair, and everyone that's in the room, and also kia ora tatu, and thanks, Gavin, for being online today. Karakia whakatapu. Ka whakariria te tapu, kia wātea, ai te ara, ai tura ki whakatahai, kia tura ki whakatahai,
Tahikia. Kia ora. Thank you, Councillor.